Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another video. In the last one, we went over positioning to include transformations, such as manipulating the position as either a vector or individual component, receiving the vector and accessing it, or retrieving that data, in either a vector or individual component, and we can do this with either an X or a Y, and also setting the position as either a vector, individual component, using the array or the value itself, or using arrow functions. And you would use an arrow function if you have something more complicated that you want to do in order to determine the positioning. We also went over scale, rotation, absolute, transform, absolute positioning, matrices, and how to get the local information from where you want to be to the world position based on its parent and everything else. And we went over some really good examples. So if you want to review or watch that video, please check out the playlist or search my channel for the video on positioning. In the next video, or I guess in this video, we're going to be talking about layouts. So layouts allow you to arrange the nodes using flexboxes. So what's a flexbox? If you go to this handy dandy guide, get some background information. A flexbox is an idea that allows you to give or better lay out and manipulate and design your screen. So I like to think of it more like a grid layout, and we can see the different properties of it. And this is coming from a CSS kind of standpoint of a flex container, flex box, flex direction, flex wrap, all this kind of stuff. So let's see how Motion Canvas uses it. Any node extending layout node can become part of the layout. This includes, but is not limited to, rectangles, circles, and images. So let's take a quick look at the example that they provided. So if I copy this and I paste it here, I should be able to see, if I run this, the same example. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Oh my goodness. Zoom to fit. Let's go 100. Let's go 200. That's a little bit better. So if we look at this, we make the box smaller, we move it around, and we rotate it. So same thing here. So let's see how we do it. So we stop all the animation part. We have multiple different references. So you have column A, column B, and row A as your references. We have our layout of the layout property. And it looks like the whole thing is a layout. So then we have our, I don't know what color this is. Maybe it might be the gray. So let's look. RGB decoder. Let's see. Oh, no. So it's like a blackish color. So we go back to over here. Might be our background or our gray over here. And then we have another layout with directions of columns. Then we have inside of that we have a rectangle, which is red. So this is our red rectangle, and inside we have a white circle, or a somewhat white circle. FFF is the color white. And then we have grow. What is grow? We'll figure that out. And then it's this color, radius 4. And we have some other rectangles as well. And actually, I'm curious. If I comment this out, what do I got? So I got my 3 columns. And if I comment this, let's just comment out everything else but this. This is a good way that I like to do, good thing I like to do in order to figure out some things. So we got our 2 rectangles. We got the first rectangle, so I guess that color was the darker color. And we can see that it is our column A and our column B. And grow 1, grow 3. I wonder what the grows are. If I put 2 and 2, what is it? Oh, so it looks like different segments or how much space we want to take up in the rectangle. So it looks like we have a max of 4. How that 4 gets determined, I do not know. But looks like we have 4 for right now. Let's say I wanted to have this be 4. Does that now get smaller? Okay, so it looks like it adds up the grows and divides it by what we want. So if we want it to just be a 25% and 75% rectangle, then, or box, then we can do that. And then we have our layout. And then I'm going to remove the rectangles inside of it. Does that do anything? Okay, so this creates another rectangle of grow 3. So now we have 3 plus 3, which is 6, so 7. So we have it 1/7, 3/7, and another 3/7. And then if we undo this again, I just use this bottom rectangle. And so that's the other rectangle. And if I get rid of my circle, so it looks like within this layout, we're looking at the columns. So we have a grow 3, which is this top one. No. Grow 3 is this way. Then inside of it, we have grow 8. So going up and down, we have grow 8. And then grow 2. So if I change this to 3, I think we're going to go up and down. Yep, we are. So that is how we have that. If we look at this rectangle, fill is red. And then how do we get the white border? I think that's using stroke. It is. So the stroke around the border is white because of this, but yet the fill is red. And then inside of it, we have our white circle. Okay, so that's how it's designed. If we use the first animation, we actually run this, we can see we're taking everything. We're taking column A, which is column A is our first rectangle. So it's this rectangle right here. And we are growing it from, we're growing it by 1, I guess. No. We're taking 1 and changing it to 2. And we're taking our other column, column B, we're taking it from 3 and taking it to a 1. Next thing we're doing is we're taking our row, which is row A, so it's going this other section, and we're changing it from grow 8 to grow 1. So we make it bigger, and then we shrink it. And then we do the next one, which it changes B from 1 to 3. B started at 3, so it's back to where it began. And then this one, and for A, we're taking it from 2 to 1, with 1 is where we started from. We still have this that we haven't undone yet. And that's what this last one does, is it undoes what we did in line 35 to manipulate and stretch it. So we're basically going to be talking about grow, it looks like, in this coming video. So the layout root. Layouts are an opt-in feature, meaning that they need to be enabled. This is done by setting the layout property, so this property right here, on a node that we want to become part of our root layout. So there it is, layout root, and now this is part of the layout. In the example above, we marked the rectangle as a layout root. This will cause the position and size of its descendants to be controlled by the flexbox. In this case, there's only one valid descendant, circle. The layout root itself is treated differently than its children. Its size is controlled by flexbox, but the position stays unaffected. So in this case, we have a rectangle that we want to have controlled as a layout, and we want the rectangle to be visible of some sort. In the other example, layout, I don't think is, I think it's an invisible component versus a visible component. And you can do that for multiple different reasons and for what you actually want. Just setting the layout property doesn't always turn the node into a layout root. If the node is already part of a layout, it will be treated like the rest of the descendants. So this layout right here is still a child, even though we have layout there. I forget the word, but we have layout actually there specified. Size and offset. So layout.size. So aside from positioning, rotation, and scale, any node existing in the layout class has an additional size and offset property. Represent the size. So this represents the size of this node. The size is a two-dimensional vector of x and y. The value of both x and y is of type length, which is either a number, a string, which the desired length in percentage, for example, 50%, or null and automatic length. So let's look at an example. So the node is of size 50%, so that's 50% x, so 50% of the screen or 50% of the box, whatever, and then it's actually 200 pixels, let's say. Or we can do it as an individual component. We can also set the size like we did with positioning. You can also do offsets. You can do cardinal directions. So layout nodes come in a set of helper properties that let you set the position, or lets you position them in respect to their edges or corners. For example, we use them to place two squares on the left side of the gray rectangle. Two squares on the left and right side of the gray rectangle, sorry. The yellow square is positioned so that its right edge is the same place as the left edge of the rectangle. Meanwhile, the red square is placed so that its bottom left corner aligns with the bottom right corner of the rectangle. All positions included, directions include middle, top, bottom, left, right, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So if you look down here, you can see this, I believe, is our main rectangle. Then we have a smaller rectangle. We have a reference to our rectangle, so this is the only reference. And then we have right here, we have a rotation, rect.rotate, rotation. Rect is rect left. Try changing right to top. Okay. And then we have this other rectangle. So let's actually play around with this example a little bit. Let me copy. And this is how we learn. So I'm going to close out of here. And so this is our example that we have. I'm going to get rid of the animations like normal. And we can see our first rectangle, second rectangle, and third rectangle. So let's get rid of the first two. And we can see that this is indeed the gray one. And then this is the yellow one, which would make this one the red one. So rotation is rec.rotate. And this creates a ref of rec. So this rec is of this object, but this is taking a property rotation as its rotation. So when this rotates, the yellow one rotates, and right is rec.left. So whatever the left side of this is will become the right side for the yellow. And whatever the bottom left corner of the gray one is will become, or the bottom right corner of the gray one will become the bottom left of it. So if we manipulate the rectangle in terms of rotation, because of how we've designed it, it will always stay. So if I want bottom left, or if I want bottom right, I could change this to bottom left. And now you can see that the bottom left of our corner, of the red corner, will always be the bottom of the other one. And the rotation of the item itself doesn't change. It only changes if we tell it to change, which in the red case we have not. Okay. So then Flexbox configurations. Most Flexbox attributes available in CSS are available as layout properties. So we have absolute position. Yeah. We have absolute position, absolute rotation, absolute scale, align content, align items, align self, basis, bottom, bottom right, bottom left, cache, cache padding, children, clip, composite, composite operation, creation stack, direction, element, filters, font family, font size, font style, font weight, gap, grow, in class, justify content, key, inherited from node.key, layout, left, letter spacing, and there's much more here that you can also take a look into. You can check this out in the Flexbox guide to better understand how they work. Most common use properties will be padding, margin, gap, direction, align items, and justify content. For groups, nodes that don't exist in the layout class, such as the node itself, are unaffected by the layout and are treated as if they were never there. This lets you apply filters and transformations to the layout nodes without affecting the hierarchy. From the layout's perspective, all rectangles in the example below are siblings. So if we run this, okay, so let's look at the actual code. So we have a giant layout. We have our node, which is right here. And we are changing the group, which is this node, opacity from 0.1 to 0.21 and back and forth. Meanwhile, this rectangle never changes, which is the bottom one. So again, nodes that don't extend the layout class, such as the node itself, this one, are unaffected by the layout and are treated as if they were never there. This lets you apply filters and transformations to layout nodes without affecting the hierarchy. So yeah. So with this rectangle being underneath, nothing changes with the hierarchy because the node doesn't realize or doesn't take a look at the layout class. So that's it for layouts. In the next video, we'll talk about signals. In the video before this, when I talked about positioning, I promised to go over signals. Sorry. In the next video, I'll be doing that. So if you like what I'm doing, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.